We're going to start in this room with unmanned aircraft applications to agriculture, and with us we've got John Nowatzki, who is our agricultural machine systems specialist.
As you said, my name is John Nowatzki. I'm in the Ag Engineering Department at NDSU, and they've asked me to talk about unmanned aircraft and applications to ag. And so what I'm going to do basically is talk about basically 3 or 4 things. One, I'm going to talk about what you can and can't do with unmanned aircraft in the United States today, and how you can fly them, and as far as FAA regulations go. Then we're going to talk about our project that we did here in Carrington this summer that we hope to continue next summer with unmanned aircraft, and then I'd like to talk about some of the issues that we've had. And then I'd like to share a little bit about unmanned aircraft in general and what I think, what the future is as far as UAS in agriculture. I think there's lots of opportunities, and I think we'll see unmanned aircraft be rather common in the near future. In the United States today, you can't fly unmanned aircraft and make money, okay? What you can do is anybody can go downtown and buy something like this. I don't know what's available here or in Jamestown, but I know in Fargo there's a place where you can buy aircraft that looks like this, unmanned aircraft, or you can buy small ones and bigger ones. You can get rotocopters and fixed wing, and you can go and buy them, and you can take them outside here or anywhere you want in the United States and fly them as a hobbyist. So there's no regulation against flying them as a hobbyist. There are some rules you have to follow, but you can do it. You have to stay under 400 feet because in general, manned aircraft stay above 500 feet. You have to be able to see them. You have to be able to control them. And you have to be away from an airport, not closer than 3 miles to an airport. And then you have to be away from large groups of people. But basically the rules for hobbyists are you have to try to be safe, you have to stay away from airports, don't go too high, be able to control them. That's one way you can do it. The second way is the way we did it, and that's with a certificate of authorization from FAA. So universities, or I think government agencies, although I'm not sure of that, universities can apply to FAA and get an authorization to fly unmanned aircraft in a certain location at a certain set of dates with certain aircraft and certain people flying them. It's very restrictive. The FAA's primary concern is safety. And so they're really not interested in anything we would do in agriculture as far as research goes. But they are interested in knowing, for example, if this is the aircraft we're using, how long can it fly on a battery? How does it work in wind? The third way to get permission to fly from FAA in the United States is a commercial exemption. And FAA is granting commercial exemptions to companies that make aircraft and other companies. I'll be showing you this Trimble aircraft, and you're all familiar with Trimble Corporation, worldwide company dealing with, really they're a surveying company, but they focus in our area very heavily on agriculture, on GPS applications to ag. Trimble applied for an exemption, and they received it about a week ago. So Trimble will be able to use that aircraft commercially, and they could fly over your fields. So that's an option. So that's a 333 exemption they call it, but it's a commercial exemption from FAA. They have granted about a dozen of these. Most of the exemptions, these commercial exemptions, have been to filming companies that make movies in the United States. So those companies can use it, and you can well imagine why they want to use it, because having a small aircraft over a filming is just a great opportunity and a lot cheaper than hiring a manned aircraft. So those are the 3 ways to do it. Now there may be other issues in other ways. FAA is mandated by Congress to integrate what they call integrate unmanned aircraft into the manned aircraft space by next September. I don't think they'll get it done, but that's the congressional mandate. So they're behind schedule already in terms of coming up with safety rules. But they are going to announce, I think, yet this month, a exemption for basically for using these in a kind of a semi-commercial way, and they're gonna require the same things I talked about. They're probably also gonna talk about having a pilot's license. We have lots of requests from companies that want to get into the precision ag field. And just yesterday had a long conversation with representatives from Northrop Grumman. And they want to know how they can get into agriculture with unmanned aircraft and how they can make money on it. Currently, companies like Northrop Grumman are using unmanned aircraft very effectively for us in wars. And they've been very effective. There's a lot of uses of it. You know, you hear about drones, monitoring, but we also use them to deliver warheads, missiles. And they're very effective. There's a drone that flies back and forth along the Canadian-U.S. border every day. So they're being used in military and in security things around the world. So they're very effective. The problem is that you can't do it commercially, and secondly, there's a lot of companies that want to do it, and then the real problem, though, right now in agriculture is what can you do and do economically? I mean, this costs like, $2,500. That one costs, a lot more than that, and I'll talk about that. So can you spend this money and get money back? So our objective at Carrington here was to try to look at some possibilities in ag. These are the people that we listed as co-investigators on the project, and you recognize right away Blaine Schatz and Vern Anderson. I think Vern is retired now, but Blaine was he's the director here, and some of the other folks at NDSU. We were looking at both crops and livestock. We had lots of ideas, or I had lots of ideas when we put this together. Most of the things we haven't been very successful at, but we hope to continue it again next year. This is just a map of the basic area here, and I'd like to point out that the size of it, it's a mile and a half about from north to south and about a mile and a half to east to west. Give you an idea of the size. This is funded with your help in a number of ways. We funded it through what's called Research North Dakota, and it costs about $100,000. And Research North Dakota is a fund that's available to universities, NDSU and UND. And all the money goes through there, but all the money has to be matched dollar for dollar with private money. So half the money of that $100,000 came from our tax money. The other half came from private money had to be matched. So this company, LWS Survey, the second one on there is a surveying company actually based in Duluth, but they have an office in Minot, and they're doing a lot of work in surveying. I think they said they did like $6 million worth of work in North Dakota this past year. But they wrote us a check for $40,000. So I mean, real dollars. It wasn't just an in-kind match. North Dakota Soybean Council, North Dakota Corn Council each contributed between the two of them about $20,000. So those are the groups. And then I want to make sure that we operate under the North Dakota test site, North Dakota U.S. test site. FAA named 6 states to try to do some safety things with research with unmanned aircraft, and North Dakota is one of them. We also had the University of North Dakota fly our aircraft because that's what was required by the North Dakota UAS test site. It's kind of a very collaborative effort. We had a number of objectives. One was to evaluate fixed wing and rotocopter. One was to look at regular color picture cameras. It says sensors there, but we just use the term cameras. Thermal, and thermal gives you temperature variation. Infrared allows you to see that one portion of the electromagnetic spectrum that we can't see with our eyes, but it's very effective in looking at crops. Looking at both crops and livestock. Since this Research North Dakota money, the legislature mandated that this is for economic development. So the purpose of all this is looking at economic development in North Dakota. Jobs, industry, or more sales, anything that would be economic development for North Dakota. And then I work in extension, so I wanted to have this material for extension. Had a lot of ideas. Left-hand side is all about crops, the right-hand side is all about livestock. And we were able to do a few of these things. We hope to be able to do a lot more. One of the nice things about doing this work here is that there's already research going on in about 25 different crops, and they have beef researchers as well. We're able to do some of these things, nutrient deficiencies, a little bit of that just getting started, and actually we're still analyzing the data, and I'll be working this afternoon with some of the folks here at the station to do more work and get more information from the industry. Obviously, weed infestation, disease, symptoms, insect, all those things are important. Corn senescence is one thing that I'm hoping we'll be able to do with a thermal sensor. In other words, dry down a corn, be able to fly over a cornfield and say, this is 20% moisture, or this is 18% moisture prior to harvesting. On the livestock side, a lot of different issues. Animal movement, pick up diseased animals if they have a fever with a thermal sensor, be able to tell if they're getting sick before you could tell by walking through the herd. A lot of other things, and I'll talk about more of those later. These are the aircraft that we use, and I've got some videos of those that I'll show. The Dragon Flyer, this is one that it's about 3 feet across and about 2 feet high. This is one that the University of North Dakota already had, and they chose that because the Grand Forks Police Department, they were working with the Grand Forks County Police Department, where they're using that to monitor crimes or crime scenes or accident scenes or things like that. So obviously very effective if you've got a crime that's ongoing, that you can get something up in the air quickly and monitor as people move around. The other one is a Trimble that we purchased, and I've got a copy of that there, a model of that there. At the Big Iron Show, we did do some demonstrations of 4 different aircraft. This was one of them. This is about a 4-foot wingspan, made by a company called RoboFlight. And they've got a new model of this, and it's kind of interesting. I just got an email from them. They sell this thing for about $30,000, but they'll sell it to you without cameras in a kit with a little video to put it together for $1,500. So, and this, you can exchange, take this off, and you can put 2 different cameras in at the same time. So that would be a great opportunity. This will fly for an hour and a half on one battery, and it's completely autonomous, so it's got GPS in it, and it's going to, you fly it from your computer. It doesn't come with a computer, you have to use your own computer. It does come with a little launcher, and the reason for that is all of these are electric. And so they've got, with the fixed wing, usually a propeller in the back pushing them, they leave that propeller off until they get it off the launch so it doesn't hit the launch thing and break off. This is what it looks like, what it did look like there at about 1/8 of a mile away. And this was when it was landing, coming in for a landing, and happened to be right by a road and by a power line. Looked kind of dangerous, but actually my picture shows it worse than what it is. The power line was probably, I don't know, 200 or 300 feet away. I'd like to take a little bit of time to talk about the aircraft. As I said, this one is 3D, you go online and get it from 3D Robotics. Costs about $2,000, and then we put a GoPro camera on it, and the GoPro camera is a live video and records as well. I mean, it takes pictures and records it in the memory as well. But live video, so you get a real-time video feedback to your computer. And this one is modified so you can take not just full-color video, but also infrared imagery. So as you're flying over your crop, you get that infrared. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that as you move the aircraft around, you see that the camera stays level, it doesn't move. So because it sensed this level table to start with, and it's monitoring that and keeping it level. In addition to that, it has a first-person view, a little camera in front here that you buy another pair of goggles that has a little radio transmitter and receiver in it, and for about $100, and then you get to see where the aircraft is moving, so it kind of helps to give you an idea of where you want to be. I'll hand this around, unplug it first. It runs on this one runs for about between 15 and 20 minutes, depending on the wind, and on one battery. And the batteries you can recharge and in an hour. So if you have 3 or 4 batteries, then you can just land it and change the battery. One of the reasons I want to hand it around is, one of the reasons it flies such a short time is that it's so heavy. Probably weighs about 4 pounds. In our world of unmanned aircraft, you know, there's a place for both. Obviously, if you want to fly over cattle or even over a crop, and you want to get that real-time view feedback, and you want to be able to see and be able to hover, then the rotorcraft is better. But if you want to fly a section of land, you know, if you want to fly 640 acres, you can do that in an hour with the Trimble. But this one would take you more, and you'd have to change batteries and stuff. And by the way, these are completely autonomous, and that's one of the things I think that's essential. You don't want to be flying. It's completely autonomous. They have a GPS on it, and it has a computer built into it, and it has radio transmitter and receiver built into it. So the first thing you do with that, it doesn't come with a computer, so you have to use your own computer. You could use your iPad, or you could just use a tablet computer like the one that I'm presenting from up here. Hook it up to the internet, download a Google Earth image of the area you're going to fly. And then there's a software, some free softwares online that you can, this one that we use is called Mission Planner. And you just go to that, and with your image on your computer, you outline the area you want to fly. You say how high you want to fly it, and indicate the width of your camera as it's taking pictures. And so then you basically send that information to that. You hit a button on your computer, and it takes off and goes to where the first, you know, area where you want to start taking pictures, and then it goes back and forth. And when it's done, it'll come back to where you told it to land. So it's autonomous, and that's, I think, important. This one then is made by Trimble. This one's $50,000, so a lot more money, and I'll explain a little bit why. First of all, it's also electric. It has, by the way, flown about 25 times at least, and lands on its belly. And you can see it still looks like new. And again, I'll show you that video of it. Comes with a Sony camera. This camera is, you can look it up on the internet, I think it's NEX5. Every digital camera that you can buy, including the one in your pocket if you have a smartphone, takes red, green, blue, and they also take other parts of the electromagnetic spectrum. But we only want to see red, green, blue pictures. You know, if we take a picture of this, we just want to see what we see. But this camera has had the filter removed from it, so that in addition to taking red, green, blue, you can set it to take infrared imagery as well. And it's not terribly expensive. It costs about $1,000. And the modification, that includes that modification. So that's the camera. It records. This one does not feed back in real time. It feeds back its location, and I'll explain that, but not the image. It comes with a battery. We have about 4 batteries for this, and so each battery will fly for about an hour. So you can keep charging batteries. You can go all day long. Be relatively easy. It comes with, in addition to this, it comes with a launcher that I didn't bring with. It comes with a ruggedized computer, tablet computer. This computer is not, it's a Windows-based computer, probably a $500 computer if you went downtown to buy one, but this one's about $4,000 because it's ruggedized. You can drop it in water, pick it up, and while it's running, and pick it up, it's still working, and drop it on the floor here, it's still working. So what you do again, this has, comes with a little radio, you plug it into the USB, a little radio transmitter, has a GPS built into it. So again, you hook it up to the internet, download the Google Earth image where you want to fly, your square mile or wherever you want to do, outline the area on it with the stylus, just, you know, take the stylus, outline the area. Then you walk over, again, there's a GPS in here, so you walk over to where your launcher is, and you touch it, it says launch, puts a little button on there, and you have a little place where you can turn it, a little arrow so you can turn it so it makes sure you launch it into the wind. And then it has, you walk over to where you want to land, and again, you have to actually physically do that, touch it and put the landing place on, and again an arrow, so you want it to land into the wind. Then you, after you outline that area, you indicate that I want to have 1 square inch pixel size, real high resolution, or I want to have 1 foot resolution. That determines the camera, that it knows about the camera in there, that determines how high it's going to fly. So if you're going to fly it at, if you want, say, 1/4 inch resolution, well, I think this one only flies about, you can only get about 1 inch resolution. You're going to fly at about 300 feet or 250 feet above the ground. So then after you do that, you turn on the computer in here, and the camera, and then you send that information from here to there by radio signal. At that point, you put it on the launcher, and it'll, if you want to, you can touch a button here that'll simulate. It'll go back and forth and show you on here how it's going to fly. And if you're happy with that, just hit launch. It takes off. Well, actually, you launch it first. Then it goes to the end of the field, turns on the camera, flies to the other end, turns it off, makes a circle, and comes back and forth. And when it's done taking all the pictures over your whole field, it'll come back and circle over you, or circle over the landing spot. And then you just hit launch, and land, and it'll come in and land. So it's that simple. Really, it's something that you can learn how to do. This is a picture picture of the high-resolution image, and I can zoom way in. You see individual plants. This is the unfortunate thing about this. All that's easy. You're taking still pictures, and you get something that looks like this, and you have to take that and make it into 1 image. This is about 50 images. This is about the size of a football field, roughly, about 1 acre. I'm not going to be able to talk about what I should be talking about, and that's the information in the imagery now. We used a lot of different softwares. Some of these are expensive, like $2,000 or $3,000, and some are free to do that stitching. Every one of them takes time. If you fly with that aircraft, by the way, that Trimble comes with a software program too that they sell for $15,000. That's why it comes up to $50,000. It comes with Trimble Business Center. But I would fly a quarter section of land, and it would take me several hours, 2 or 3 hours for the computer to put that into one mosaic. And that's because I didn't have, an expensive enough computer. The other thing is we find that every bit of software that we use, this is one original image and this is a mosaic, and so it kind of distorts it a little bit. Let me go through and show you a few other things. This image is a color image, again, about 1 acre, and that's an infrared image with an NDVI. So you can see if you had that image over your land, you could quickly pick out some issues. This just shows corn growing, and every 2 rows is a different variety. Again, more information we should be talking about. This is a canola image that I have taken this out. This Trimble took, this is a 40-acre field of irrigated corn. That's 4 flights up there, and all in one day. And that happens to be an infrared image, and this is a vegetative index from that. Again, information that you can see from that. This is corn taken on a few days after it comes out of the ground. You can pick out individual corn plants and, of course, do a stand count. We use software called MATLAB. These are numbers that the researchers here got, and there's just some examples of pictures, and those are numbers we got. So we found that we can do a stand count and do it effectively and do it quickly. This is a map that you could use to do variable rate fertilization. This is a map or an image of cattle. And again, the lighter the color, the warmer the temperature. So if you had an animal that was sick, it would show up as a darker color. This will take about 2 more minutes. When you buy this aircraft from Trimble, we buy it from Titan, because they're a reseller for Trimble. You have to go to a 5-day school, and that's going to continue. And they're going to charge you to go to this school too. I went to Colorado, and this was some flights in Wyoming, out on the plains of Wyoming. This is John Anderson. John works for Titan out of Lisbon. The first person you saw there was Tate Petrie, one of our students in engineering. And again, it's just showing me putting it on the launcher. We did all these things, like I said, to find the place where it's going to, where we're going to land, where we're going to fly, where we're going to launch, where we're going to land. This is the kind of a clunky part. You're going to take a little socket wrench and wind up the bungee cords that are in here, because that's what propels it to get it started. And then after that, there's a couple more things that are going to happen. One of the things is we're going to send that information. I've got a picture, just a still picture, showing arming the aircraft. Basically taking information that you've got on the computer, where you're going to fly, where you're going to land, where you're going to launch, and then you send that information with a radio signal to the aircraft. Kind of got one thing out of place here. Now again, he's just sending the information to the aircraft, and the aircraft has a pitot tube on it that measures airspeed and atmospheric pressure at no elevation. And so he's checking that now, and after that, to launch it, this just has a little mechanical cable, and you press it kind of like a bicycle brake pedal. You press it and it takes off. And the sound is like a little electric motor running. This flies at about 40 miles an hour. I flew it in 30 mile an hour winds, did very well. Perpendicular to the wind. And I've seen it flying in 40 miles an hour wind, so it did very well. It'll come back in view here. A couple of pictures I took that I was actually proud of the pictures, so I wanted to put them in here. But snapped them just when they were taking off. It's kind of hard to see. You're supposed to be able to see, have line of, be able to watch at all time, maintain visual eye contact, and that's kind of difficult to do because it gets pretty small. I mistaked it. I thought I was watching it, and all of a sudden I found out it was an eagle that it was flying over. It started flapping its wings because it looks just like it. That's at about 75 meters. What it looks like. It's actually circling right now to come in, get down to a certain level, and then it will land. And it won't land until you tell it to land. You'll see it pick up over on the right-hand side. He's touched the computer to say, okay, you can come in and land. There we go. At about 15 meters above the ground, the motor shuts off, and then it just bounces in. Usually, it probably hit something there, like a little. This is a livestock pasture, so it could have hit an old cow pie or something, and that bounced it back up. But really, it is that simple. You can, while it's flying with that computer, you can say, go up so many meters, go down so many meters, go left, go right. You can tell it to come here, and wherever you're standing with that computer, it'll come and circle over your head. Or you can tell it, if a spray pilot comes in or something, you can say, terminate flight. Just hit a little button. It'll immediately turn off that electric motor, and it'll glide down wherever it's at, and you got to go pick it up. And it'll maintain. You can fly this about 7 miles away. So pretty good sized farm. You just sit down at your house, send it off 5 miles away, and go fly that field and come back. If it loses a radio signal, it'll continue flying for about 2 minutes, and if it doesn't get the radio signal back, it'll turn off the motor and land again.
So when it goes down, does it tell you where it's at?
Yeah, there'll be a GPS signal leaking out of it. I mean, a radio signal. You can use a finder to go find it.
As this progressed, do you see a need for pilots, for people who are trained?
Do I see a need for pilots? Yes. And first of all, FAA is going to require a pilot's license, an aircraft pilot's license.
Yeah,
but that'll change. But right now, and I want to make a good point of this, University of North Dakota has a UAS 4-year degree in unmanned aircraft right now. So if you want a new career, and I think there's plenty of opportunity if you want to do that, or if you have children that you want to get, I encourage you to take a look at that. If they're interested, there's so much fun in it. And you can go to work for Amazon and deliver packages, or maybe you can go to work for the local bar and deliver beer. We should have another discussion, Tim, about privacy, but we don't have time for that because that's a big issue. If I fly over your field, are you going to be happy about that? If I don't want people seeing what I do in my yard, I can build a fence to keep people from looking at it. But I cannot, in the United States, stop somebody, my neighbor, from flying this over my yard and taking pictures of it, and pretty much doing what they want with those pictures. I mean, that's the way the law is in the United States. It'll change because we're all very concerned. It just has to go through the legislature.